Every day when she stepped onto the mats at Southside Jiu-Jitsu Academy, she could feel the stares. Most of the students were bigger, stronger, and louder. The men especially seemed to brush her off, as if her presence was just some phase she'd grow out of. They didn't see her as a threat. To them, she was just a 19-year-old girl with thin wrists, quiet eyes, and no muscle. But they didn't know what was happening beneath the surface. Emily had always been underestimated. Born prematurely, she spent the first months of her life in an incubator. Her mother used to tell her, "You were a fighter before you could even breathe on your own." But as she grew, the world rarely saw her that way. Bullied in middle school for being too fragile, she learned to swallow her pain and keep pushing. When she discovered Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at 17, it felt like she'd finally found a place where size didn't have to matter, that it was about technique, timing, and leverage. At least, that's what the instructors said. But in the real world of the academy, things felt different. Her first year was brutal. Bigger students crushed her in side control until she could barely breathe. They playfully mocked her taps, laughing when she couldn't escape their holds. Some refused to roll with her altogether, saying they didn't want to break her. Emily wasn't sure what hurt more, the bruises on her body, or the ones on her spirit. Yet she kept showing up. Day after day. Night after night. After work. After school. After everyone else went home to relax, Emily stayed. She watched hours of technique videos, studied world champions like Mackenzie Dern and Beatriz Mesquita, and shadow-drilled moves in her living room until her knees were raw. Her goal wasn't to be the strongest person on the mats. It was to be the smartest. Coach Luis noticed. A black belt with decades of experience, he saw something in Emily that others ignored. Quiet intensity. Obsession with detail. Patience. He started staying late to help her refine her guard game, teaching her how to manipulate angles, use grips others overlooked, and apply submissions with surgical precision. But even Coach Luis couldn't stop the whispers. One night, after a particularly rough class where two white belts had laughed as they squashed her in sparring, Emily sat alone in the locker room, her GI soaked in sweat and her eyes filled with silent tears. She wondered if maybe they were right. Maybe she was too weak. That night, she almost didn't come back. But the next morning, she remembered something her mother had told her after her first jiu-jitsu competition loss. "They're not stronger than you, Emily. They just don't know your story." So she came back. And she came back again. And again. Months passed. Her technique sharpened. Her mindset hardened. She learned to breathe under pressure, to move like water, to turn defense into offense without forcing it. Her triangles got tighter. Her back control more precise. She became a master of setups, not just finishes. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday open mat, the kind of night where students from other gyms came to roll. The academy was buzzing, music playing softly in the background, students laughing and chatting between rounds. That's when Daniel showed up. Daniel was a visiting black belt from another school. A powerhouse. 6 feet 2 inches, 220 pounds, known for smashing guards and tapping purple belts like it was nothing. When he stepped on the mats, everyone noticed. When he called out for a roll, no one wanted to be first. Except Emily. She tightened her belt, stood up, and said, "I'll go." A few students exchanged glances. Someone muttered under their breath, "She's gonna get wrecked." Daniel smiled politely but probably thought the same thing. They slapped hands, bumped fists, and started. Daniel moved quickly, confident he'd pass her guard in seconds. But Emily stayed calm. She let him pressure forward, baiting the pass, just like she and Coach Luis had practiced. At the perfect moment, she shifted her hips, wrapped her legs around his neck and shoulder, and locked in a triangle choke. Daniel tried to posture out, but she had the angle. She adjusted her grip, pulled his head down, and squeezed, not with strength, but with flawless technique. 14 seconds later, the black belt tapped. Silence fell over the room. Daniel sat back, stunned, blinking at the mats. Emily just smiled, untied her triangle, and reached out her hand to help him up. The whispers that followed weren't about weakness anymore. That night, people started asking her for advice.